Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It made me
How are y'all
log into
doing?
a different Zoom account. That was weird.
Um,
Okay.
I'm excited to see you both in action together.
Me too. Okay. Did you get the final that I sent over?
I did. I'm just pulling it up.
Okay. I'll go ahead and let everybody in.
Awesome.
Is Otter going? Yep, Otter's going. Oh, gotta fix my pen. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Good.
You're all smiles this morning.
I feel like I've gotten a lot done, and that fuels me. It's been a
Good,
productive
good.
morning so far.
Well, that's great. It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been a while since I've seen everybody. I'm excited to be back.
Been a long 2 weeks.
Well, I've missed the last couple. I've missed the last couple.
Guess everybody's getting situated.
I
Come on,
know.
Rick. Need help, Rick?
Nah, I think I got.
Okay.
There we go. Here I
There's
am.
there's Chris.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Good
Morning.
morning. Now, where's the rest of our crew? How's everybody else doing this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm doing peachy.
Started off pretty busy this morning, but I think everything's good now.
Good, good.
Just trying to get organized over
Sure. Hi.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good
good morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Awesome. And you should have all gotten an email this morning from Lindsay with class materials. You might like to have them handy to reference during class today.
We sure did.
here. Time to look at it.
So I think we're mostly here. We might be missing a couple of people, but Josh and John, just let me know when y'all want to get started, and well, if you'll make me a host, I can keep an eye on the waiting room. Otherwise,
You are host.
oh, okay, perfect.
I'm good. Yeah, we can go ahead and get started.
Cool. All right. Hmm.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I
Good.
haven't had the chance. I've met all of you. I know all of you, but I haven't had the chance to present yet at any of your leadership classes yet. So, for those that don't remember, I'm Josh Brackett. I'm co-founder of Legacy FM. Full time, I work for Banner Health out in Phoenix area. I'm the corporate regulatory director for facilities, and I lead all code and compliance efforts for our entire system. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about, I'll let John introduce. John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself now, actually?
Well, good morning. I am John Puckett, um, longtime healthcare operations leader. Happy to be on here at CHFM. I've met Josh and Lindsay years ago, retained their services as I worked with an academic medical center, and happy to be contributing to their mission as I kind of wrap up my career at large. So glad to be here today.
Thank you, sir. Today we're going to be talking about something, and this is a very interactive class. As you guys know, most of the classes are interactive, so we've got several times where we're going to be leaning on you for dialogue, discussion. We're talking about something that I still work on constantly. It's goal setting realistic goals, and how to achieve that. Different skills that are needed, different methods that are used, and also performance improvement. So a couple of our housekeeping items. We're going to move on.
Yeah.
Of course, please keep your cameras on and active so that way we can see you engaged. It helps. We've seen like it helps overall just in the virtual environment for individuals to be able to connect easier, and be able to, especially when we're talking about leadership related strengths and weaknesses and opportunities for us to grow. If you got to step away for a call, we understand, right? I have no idea. Actually, yeah, I have about, yeah, I got 5 or so minutes before I'll know if Joint Commission shows up at a hospital. So, but if I got to step away, I got to step away, right? So, just be respectful to classmates. As we're going through today, Mr. Puckett and I will try to mirror good behavior by raising our own hands virtually if I want to interject and say something to John. So do the same with us. That way we can see you, come to a good stopping point. Engage in discussions. Be respectful, of course. I think everybody on this call are very respectful. And we're going to encourage diversity because it is through, I would say the most I've ever grown in my career has been through conflict, right? So it's through those times, and conflict's not a bad word, right? But it's through those times when I hear something from somebody else that has a different perspective than I do, and I take that and I try to understand. I try to understand that person's perspective, and that helps all of us to grow. We're going to try to take breaks approximately every hour. Mr. Puckett and I've got a couple of planned breaks. We'll see how well that goes, depending on how windy I am when I'm talking. All right. Going to take it away, Mr. Puckett?
You bet. So in a previous class, we talked a lot about employee engagement, and this is going to build on that. You know, the having engaged employees mean that they bought into like the mission of the department or the organization. And this is how we continue to grow that using kind of specific and measurable methodologies to do that. And we'll look at ways that as leaders, we recognize differences and we apply that knowledge and that expertise that we develop to make us better. Josh talked about, pressure, is what you learn from things when you're hard, and pressure makes diamonds. So we're going to really work to help you develop into diamonds today and recognize how to develop others. So this is our first group discussion, and I got to tell you, I'm fairly comfortable with awkward silences. I'd like to hear what you have to say, and I don't mind sitting quietly and wait until somebody gets up the nerve to say what they think. So don't be afraid to do that. And I would like to hear from everybody. In a group meeting in person, we like to look around and make sure that everybody we draw people out. So because we value what your perspective is, but I guess we have a question here about what's the difference between an engaged employee and a high performing employee? Because I think we've all seen employees that believed in the mission but weren't accomplishing what we thought that they would accomplish, or what we knew that they were capable of, believed that they were capable of. And then you might have some high performing employees that aren't really engaged. So how do we tell the difference between the two, and what's required of a leader to recognize and work with those? Don't make me call you out. Miguel popped up there.
Well, in my perspective, I think engaged employee is someone that's just uh, doing the job that's necessary to get by, and a high performing employee, uh, in my view, is someone that goes the extra mile, goes extra above and beyond. And if you notice someone like that, let's say an engaged employee that's not a high performing employee, you just got to sit them down and tell them, okay, uh, let's just say, and for example, you went to this door, the door was not latching, but you didn't notice that it also had some chip laminate. You could have engaged in trying to fix that as well, since you were already there. So let's just next time try to see the whole perspective, or the whole issue of the door, and see if we can go ahead and tackle all of it.
Great example. Thank you.
Mm.
Miguel?
Yeah, so engaged, I would say that, for example, if we are working in a group or as a team, engaged would be someone that is part of the team, is working towards the same goal. So they're engaged. High performer, you can be a high performing employee and be doing your own thing, uh, not exactly what the team is working on together, um, but working really hard and being very productive. But um, that's how you can be I guess, a high performing employee, but not be engaged. So definitely you want to be engaged.
I think that's another great example. Everybody that logged in to participate in this today is engaged. You've committed to this class, but if you're not contributing, are you getting the most out of it? So how does that work, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else? So we move on to the next.
I would say it was about enthusiasm versus performance versus enthusiasm versus actual competence. So enthusiasm doesn't mean enthusiasm means you're engaged, but competence means you're high performing.
Agreed. Yeah, another great example. All right, move to the next slide. What happens when we focus on morale and avoid performance issues? We've all had, I shouldn't say that, we don't know. I've had leaders who wanted to be popular with everybody. So they were really focused on making everybody feel good, but not holding them accountable. And the contrast to that, probably where early in my career I've focused, I was all about the goal, not so what do you think happens when either one of those is focused on? Miguel, do you want to jump in and
Sure. So if we focus on just the performance, and we're lacking the relationship, I guess, and the trust from our team, um, we're probably not going to get really good results, or we may get good results, but um, when things get tough, I guess, and you really need something done, that trust really helps out with getting tasks done or accomplished or coming together as a team. Kind of like we talked about earlier about high performers. You can have really high performers, and then if we're not building those relationships and trust and developing as a team, it's eventually could fall apart.
sure, you could lose a really good high performer if you don't recognize, encourage, and challenge them a little bit, give them opportunity to grow and share what your perspective on that and the importance of it. I completely agree. You seen any examples of these?
Um, not any that jump to mind, but I'm sure I have.
Yeah, we don't want to call anybody out here today. We're just, yeah. I like I said, I think early in my career, I was very focused on the goal, the accomplishments, and the metrics, and I didn't really build the relationships as well as I could have. And sometimes what happened was that is you lose really good people. And
Yeah.
yeah, you people that enjoy and they realize they're being appreciated, they'll commit to doing things that aren't even asked of them. They'll look for opportunities to contribute because you've developed that relationship. All right.
What if we reverse that first question as well? What happens when a leader focuses on performance issues but not on morale?
But shouldn't morale be based on performance?
Mm.
Shouldn't we reward performance? And that will boost morale?
That's a great question, and I think we're going to get into a little bit about that. It's what we're doing here today is developing the skill sets in leaders to recognize the differences between those two and find a way to make it work for everybody.
But I got a statement. But shouldn't both of them be equally as important?
Mm.
Because you can have a great performer with a sucky attitude, and you can have a person that have a great personality but can't perform the work. So I think both of them is equally important in the workspace because you want that morale person coming to work feeling good about their job, but you also got to be able to perform the expectations of your job.
Yeah, that you're absolutely right. It takes both. And this course is going to be about helping us develop the skills to recognize the differences between those and positively impact both of them. Whether they're really good performers have an attitude problem, how we can help with that, or whether they have a great attitude and need to develop their technical skills and recognize the value of what they do. They're both important. You're absolutely right, Michael. Next slide. All right. Engaged teams still need direction, coaching, and accountability. And I think that's what Michael was talking about. Even if you're all in, but you don't understand what the expectation is, or maybe the reasons behind it. Some people need tasks assigned to them, and some people need to understand the reason behind it. And I think that a good leader will share both, clarify the expectation or the goal that they set together, and then hold them accountable for that. So performance management is just about reliability, safety, compliance, teamwork, and recognizing what the environment requires of us. So we should get beyond thinking about what engagement means by itself, but how we can serve both populations, both the high performers and the highly engaged that have an opportunity for improvement in one of those two areas. When development's consistent, capable people grow. Okay. Yeah, leaders do more than just assign work and react when something goes wrong. And I think that I tend to take things a little literally. When somebody says, 9 o'clock, it means 9 o'clock or 5 till, and not everybody feels that way, right? So you need to recognize when somebody has a different perspective on the importance of punctuality, for instance, and helping clarify not only the task associated with it or the work that goes into it, but the importance of it and the prioritization of it. That's another opportunity we have to realize the importance of some of the tasks that we do and separate them from those that are less essential. Josh.
Yeah, I actually had an example of a leader who I have that's a peer of mine. No names are going to be mentioned, right? But he is very much a micromanager. And he recently took over a new hospital, and his form of how he tries to hold people accountable is through managing all of their tasks. And we were just talking about, micromanaging. And for him, when I sit and talk with him, I don't report to him and he doesn't report to me, so he's a peer. But I think part of accountability is holding each other, to a same standard. So when some of his employees are expressing that they're struggling with him, then I view it as my job not to go and berate him, right? But to understand what he's going through, to talk to him. So, and he sees by him telling them what to do, right? By managing their tasks because they haven't been getting all of their work orders done and they've been going over budget every month on their operating budget. He sees it as that he's helping them by managing it for them, right? And he hadn't thought through the fact that what he's doing is removing that ability for them to grow and frustrating them in the process, right? So they are now, and he was getting some praise. They are now on budget every month. They're getting their work orders done. But did he actually solve the problem? Right. And sometimes I think it's easy for us to get into that. I mean, I've gotten in that. I'm not a micromanager in general, but I've gotten in that mindset before because there's a task and it's got to get done and the team's not getting it done. So I'm going to jump in and we're going to get it done. Right. Not understanding necessarily the impact that can have on the morale side.
Agreed. Not only that, but sometimes people will only do if you tell them everything to do, then when you're not telling them what to do, they're not sure what to do because you haven't given them any autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky? It is Ricky, right? You're on mute, bud.
Sorry about that. So I'm not a big fan either of micromanaging because I didn't like it when I was on the other side. But sometimes, like Josh says, sometimes there is projects that need to get done in a certain time and fashion, and sometimes, unfortunately, you do have to do a little bit of micromanaging to make sure that the end goal is reached. So I agree with Josh as far as sometimes you have to micromanage, but not. I don't like it, but sometimes we have to.
Agreed. I don't see any hands up. You want to go to the next slide? Goals are not just targets, they're also leadership tools. Truer words. Yeah. Setting goals, there's a saying, if you aim for nothing, you'll hit it. So having goals is very important in our personal lives and certainly our day-to-day work, and setting those goals are leadership tools. So this is a follow-up to a previous session, and there have been some goals, or maybe there was some recommendations that you set goals in January or since January. Does anybody have goals that they have set that they'd want to share with us? How many people on this call? Nobody set goals?
I mean, I have I guess you could call it a long-term goal. I'm working on my bachelor's degree. Um, so I'm kind of taking it step by step here. I enrolled in a class, so it started last Tuesday. I have probably about 18 classes left. Um, so uh, I'm working on that. I call it a long-term goal because we do get tuition reimbursement here at TCH, and so I'm trying to do it all with tuition reimbursement and not putting any of my money out there. But I may have to do that because it's taken me a long time to accomplish my goal.
That sounds like a specific and measurable goal. Josh, did you have something?
I was clapping, congratulating him. I always have goals for myself, but I want to hear from others. I'll share some more as well. I think you guys, when you were doing your user guides, were set some goals, right? Do you remember the user guides that Lindsay sent out with the Strengths Finder?
Yes.
Yeah, Ricky.
So my goal right now is obviously to complete this Legacy FM class, and then another goal would be to see if I can work on the CHFM. Those are my uh, immediate goals.
Nice.
And good ones, specific, measurable, relevant to what you do, right? Trackable, good, definitive goals. Anybody else before we move on?
I'm currently studying for the CHC, and also like Miguel, I just signed up for school, try to get my bachelor's.
Good for you.
Very cool. Good.
I got to tell y'all that for the longest, I had my goal was to get my CHFM, and I had been putting it off, and so Chris told me, "Hey, I just signed up to go take my CHFM," and I was like, "Well, I can't let Chris beat me," so I signed up. So he encouraged me to sign up and accomplish my goal, and I did receive my CHFM or earned it in February. So that was a goal that I had put on the back burner and ended up accomplishing it with a little nudge from Chris and everybody else on the team as well that's pursuing the CHFM.
Good for you. That's a challenging one too. That's a good goal. A good goal. And once again, relevant, measurable. Good for you. It feels good when you accomplish that. Hmm.
How
All
about
right.
you, Mr. Puckett? Do you have any goals? Or Olivia, you can share too.
Specific and measurable goals. That's a good, my goals weren't as specific as they should be. I should probably put some definition behind them, but it was as I finished my official career as a leader in healthcare facility business operations, I wanted to continue to pass on all the hard-won knowledge and experience I got from interacting with quality people like yourselves. And I think my goal became to develop a legacy, to use legacy, that people would say, he gave back, that was he contributed to the benefit of others. That if people would say that at the end of the day, that would be my goal, was that, now he wasn't the smartest guy in the room and certainly not the best dressed, but he was considerate of others and helpful. He had that character that he wanted to be, offer advice, help, support to others.
Nice.
I'll put some definition on that, Josh. Thanks.
I can share as well. Y'all know I'm new to leadership myself, and thinking about my user guide, my strengths. My number one strength is harmony, which can be a tough strength to have in leadership, being somewhat conflict averse. My goal is not very definable either, not very specific. So John, I'm going to have to work on that as well. But I'm working on learning the line between keeping people accountable and keeping really strong relationships. And I know there's a good balance there, but I'm still learning it.
Good for you. All right. So we go to the next. Goals as leadership tools. So sometimes we think of goals as like more tasks. And I think really we are engaged. We all signed up. We came and applied for a job. We're hired to accomplish some things, and our leaders put some definition behind that. And if we're good leaders, we're going to put some definition. So what does that mean? So I think that goals are not just give you direction, but also kind of influence you to understand the value that these represent. So when you set goals, then you set clear expectations, clarify expectations of the people who you're leading. And by the way, somebody I spoke to recently said, you know, I'm not sure I'm a leader. I'm telling you, first of all, they are. And secondly, if anybody is looking at you and listening to you formally or informally and following your you know, the model you're setting forward, then you're a leader. And I think if you change that perspective, if you go, I didn't even realize that, you know, someone was watching me and thought that about me. I think it helps you step up a little bit. So we're all leaders to some extent, and using tools that help clarify what those expectations are, and make sure that the people that you're leading understand not only that expectation, but that they have the support, the tools, and encouragement that they need to accomplish those. Is going to help develop them. So it's not just about the goals, but it's about the development of the people. So what makes a goal useful to a direct report instead of just useful to a manager? This is a question that you have to think about a little bit, because we're now viewing it from the employee's standpoint, from the people that you're leading. Like, why would that be important to them? Why would it be motivating?
Well, I guess actually having a goal gives you something to aim for, and something that you can accomplish. I would think that's pretty useful and can be beneficial to both, because you know what you're aiming for.
Right. Yeah, I think you might have hit it right on the head there when you said accomplishment. Because if you never reach an objective, you just get exhausted. You're just like running on a treadmill, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever get anywhere? Not
No.
unless you're tracking how many miles you go, right? Accomplishments are things that us as humans in this culture, in this society, we like to accomplish things. We like to see a measurable accomplishment. That'd be one reason that maybe a goal is useful. Anybody else? Does anybody have any frustrating goals?
Baldy, do you have something? I saw you come off mute. Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
And can I add IT to my list? Now I was just saying, it makes it useful to the direct reports because it provides a little bit of clarity, so that everyone has the same mission picture in mind. So we have a lot of guys coming from different angles. So if you have that main objective and that main focus, it provides that kind of clarity to where the finish line is and kind of where you're at in the process. Sorry for jumping in late. We had a control area issue I had to handle real fast.
Understand.
No problem. We all recognize that.
So what makes a goal motivating?
Well, if you break it down into small pieces, you pretty much have a celebration once you meet every milestone. This is kind of unrelated, but that's one thing that I teach to my kids, and I have seen them teaching them how to set goals. Goals has made them very successful, and they're only in college, but they're able to set those small goals and meet them, and then we celebrate every time they reach a goal or a milestone, and it's uh, it's just made them be able to fast track, I guess.
So I heard recognition in that. So you celebrate an accomplishment, you recognize that accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
I think what makes a goal motivating is a little bit of a challenge to leaders, because one of my favorite mentors said, everybody listens to WIIFM. What's in it for me? So some people are motivated by recognition of others, and some people are motivated by a sense of accomplishment internally. And recognizing both of those characters and being supportive of both of them, I think, is really important. So what makes it motivating to you might be different than what makes it motivating to me. And I think, you know what, one of the organizations I served when part of the new employee orientation was they gave us a like a small card, and it said, how would you like to be recognized? And some people would like to see their name in lights, a skywriter, you know, lots of applause. Some people just really want a pat on the back and somebody one-on-one personally to say, hey, I really appreciate what you did there. And so recognizing how they want to be recognized, it sounded a little redundant, but appreciating that and meeting that, I think is going to make a goal motivating to each individual. Does that make sense? Okay. And how do goals improve performance? You know, I think they give us focus. A lot of times, you know, we have goals that are fairly broad in nature, and whether we all kind of fall under CMS, but whether we're surveyed by the Joint Commission or CMS or DNV or others, we have goals to meet those regulatory requirements, and that's a very broad goal. But at the conclusion of a survey, you have some really definitive ones, right? They might have found a smoke damper that didn't get tested, or they might have found a pattern that needs to be worked on, and we can set goals around that, and that would improve performance. In what other ways might goals improve performance? Anybody? I mean, I think I heard a couple of you talked about setting goals, personal goals, right? For earning a bachelor's degree. And being supportive of that is going to help develop that person, but maybe separate from the goals of meeting regulatory requirements or survey follow-up, right?
Yeah, I think setting goals and knowing that there's a finish line, it's motivating to know that you're going to get to that finish line.
Agreed. So what matters, why it matters, how it'll be measured, and what support is available along the way. That's a big one, I think. And that's part of that circle back and say, hey, I've given you an assignment, and here's how we're going to measure it. Let's talk in a week and make sure you understand, or you if any obstacles you ran into, that I can provide, you know, tool support, encouragement, those kind of things. So what support's available along the way?
I think one of the best things we can do as leaders is to allow team members the ability to focus, to give them that space, right? So, and I've heard people, you can call it different things, 5% time to FedEx day. There's different, you know, different leaders call it different things, but it's like I learned a long time ago that each of my employees have different goals. They have different things that they want to achieve. Some want to grow into leadership. Some want to learn. I have one right now who's working on public speaking. He's like, I want to do more presentations like you do. Okay, what are you doing to achieve that? and getting him plugged in with a couple of public speaking groups to allow him opportunities and giving him that time and that space. It's not a ton of time, right? But it helps support and allows for that ability to focus. And I think we all could agree, like when you can focus on something, it's always you kind of, when you're done with that task, let's say it's an hour long and you were able to focus just for an hour, at least for me, I always feel like I'm the champion of the world because I got something done. Like, anybody else feel that way?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. And I think you hit on another one. The same guy that told me everybody listens to WIIFM said, being able to intelligently address a group of strangers won't make you successful, but not being able to will certainly limit where you go.
Mm.
And I followed that by join Toastmasters. Toastmasters is very specific. You attend meetings and they teach you to eliminate ums from your conversation, mostly. They give you 10 challenges from an icebreaker where you do a 6-minute presentation about yourself. There's a whole series of these. When you finish those, you earn a competent Toastmaster pin, and it makes you much more comfortable in doing public presentations, public speaking. So that was a very good. He gave me a general goal. I put some definition behind it and did accomplish that. So, and that didn't have anything to do with, regulatory compliance or whatever. That was about my personal growth. So I genuinely appreciate it. That was obviously a very good leader. Poor goals create performance problems. Isn't that the truth? So I think we practice clarifying questions. And in one of the UW Health Way, they talked about ORs, like open-ended questions, affirming them and repeating it back, and then summarizing. So you go, so here's what I think you said, right? And you want me to do this by this date to this degree. And we can follow up next week with I can share whatever obstacles or successes that I've had, and we can work together to accomplishments. So poor goals is just saying, you need to get the work done. It's just not, it lacks enough definition. It's very vague. Is it unrealistic? I want all these tested by the end of business today, or a goal with no follow-up. If nobody follows up with it, how important really was it? I think as leaders, it's essential that we demonstrate the importance of what we're asking our staff to do by following up on it. Like, hey, how you doing with that? Is there anything I can do to help? The goal that's imposed without dialogue. Yeah, all of those things. So SMART goals. Has everybody heard SMART goals? I've heard a couple of different variations of this, but specific, motivating, attainable, relevant, and trackable. So those things that, you talked about pursuing your bachelor's degrees, that's pretty specific. It's motivating. It'll give you tools that'll make you better at your job and potentially an opportunity to advance in your career. Attainable. Oh yeah, you earn this many credits, you're going to get that diploma. Relevant. I was a non-traditional student. I went back to college at age 35 and actually didn't finish my master's degree till nearly 50. But I applied every class I had to whatever I was working on for the hospital I was at, whether it was marketing or accounting, you have budgets, all those kind of things. So it was relevant. And then trackable. You've got classes, attendance records, completion of tests, all of those things. And at the end of the day, that sheepskin to hang on the wall. So those setting SMART goals completely eliminates that previous slide where we talked about vague or uncertain or unclear goals. Next. What exactly is the goal, and what does the success at it look like? Is this meaningful to the individual? I mean, those of you pursuing bachelor's degree, that's for you. What is meaningful work that you're doing day to day that will develop confidence or give you a sense of accomplishment? Is it within your control? Sometimes we ask people to do things and they don't really have enough influence or control over it. So that's going to be important. That might be the support that you either provide or find for them. Is it relevant? Is it associated with their job title or what they're working on? And is it trackable? How do you measure it and track it? Some of that's easier than others. So let's look at this one and say, which one of these is a SMART goal? Attending a leadership over the next 3 months to enhance communication, dedicating 1 hour per week. Is that a SMART goal? Implement time blocking techniques, very general and vague. 3 industry networks events monthly to increase professional connections. That's relatively specific, not measurable though. How many professional connections? Demonstrate improved leadership abilities. How are you going to measure that? Positive.
The measuring is not one of your SMART acronyms. It's trackable, right?
Right.
But I like measurement. I like measurement as the M.
Yeah.
Like timeline or time bound as a
Time bound.
I guess different variations.
Sure.
We were actually talked about this a little bit yesterday because SMART goals have even evolved, right? So like this is the newest version of what they're teaching for SMART goals, but you may be familiar with the previous. If you go to the can you go back to the previous slide where M is measurable and T is time bound.
Right.
And that's how I was taught as well. But I actually like the M as motivating. I use the T. I kind of add another T. I say trackable and time bound to help when I'm thinking through it. But I think it is important to have something that is, for me at least, motivating, because if I don't understand the why, if my VP sets a goal for us and I don't understand the why, I don't really want to do it. Sometimes I do it because I'm getting paid to do it, but I don't really want to do it.
It's funny you brought that up. It's kind of difficult to, as a manager, there's several levels above us, and then techs are right. We manage techs, right? So it's kind of difficult to get organizational wide or departmental wide goals that they set, which is more executive level and higher level, and translate them into goals for the techs that they can be motivated by and achieve. So I think that's a issue I have, to kind of, being bridging that gap between VP executives and techs with the goals that they have for the organization.
That is true. I can use an example there as well if you'd like.
Please.
So Banner, we've got goals too, right? So one of our financial goals, or one of our goals, was to increase our financial net operating margin. It's pretty common for hospitals to set that as a goal. And actually, I'll use a different one. I'll use a different one. Decrease adverse clinical outcomes. And my team came to me and they're like, well, we have absolutely no impact on that. And I was like, actually, yes, we do. We have quite a bit of impact, because if we related it back to, we are serving the most important patient, which is the building. And if the building isn't operating correctly, then all of our patients could be adversely affected by a clinical outcome, right? If our steam sterilizers aren't sterilizing properly, if our air handling units aren't aren't providing the appropriate. And I live in Phoenix, so it's a hot environment, kind of like you guys down in Houston. We lose an air handling unit in the middle of summer, it's hours before we have to evacuate. Right. So taking care of the systems leads to taking care of the patients.
Yeah, air exchanges, water quality, temperature, humidity, all of those things, pressure relationships, all of it has a direct impact on the patients. I think that is one of the challenges in my career was like a boiler operator, and like how does the organization's focused on patients? How does his work with the boiler cascade, how does that contribute? And it absolutely does. If he does do his job right, we lose heat or steam for sterilization or all of those things that can have direct impact on the patient. So making that connection, I think, is huge. It gives us an opportunity to provide motivation. All right. Enhancing technical skills. So you've got a new engineer, a junior engineer, that wants to enhance their technical skills in HVAC system maintenance, troubleshooting, take on more complex tasks. How much you develop some SMART goals around that? Next slide. So here are some examples. Completing some HVAC 201, 2, and 3 courses and applying that daily task. They want more responsibility, you give them an opportunity. That's motivating to them. Job satisfaction, potential career advancement. Courses available, the organization makes those courses available. Relevant, their current role requires having those kind of skill sets. Trackable, that course completion and of course feedback from supervisors and review of work done. Somebody earlier mentioned like follow-up. Did you also fix the laminate while you were in that space? And I used to encourage my supervisors or managers to follow up on a defined percentage of the work orders done and make note of if they changed the filters in the air handling unit, did they also replace the burnt out lights and empty the garbage, those kind of things. And when they did those, you recognize them as doing the whole job. And celebrated that, called that out. So those are all trackable, associated with your work orders and such. So what's the action plan? 2 hours per week for study and practice. Applying the new skills. Tracking course completion and practical application. Like, did you give them more higher complexity tasks? Did they complete them on time and accurately? And check-ins, that circling back. We talked about earlier about that. Don't give them goals and then they'll follow up on them. So they start to give the perception that the goals aren't really that important. So we're participating in check-ins. Improving communication skills. So you got a team leader that wants to improve their communication skills to enhance collaboration and outcomes, project outcomes. Some of the ways you might do that would encouraging or providing them time to participate in a communication class and then implement learned techniques in team meetings. Maybe it's Toastmasters and you let them contribute, do a report out, contribute in a department meeting to stand up and talk about what they actually did. Motivating. They want to enhance cohesion and improved outcomes. That personal growth, all of it together. Attainable. Here's Texas Children's offers this class. And for the most part, nobody's gotten called away. It could happen. Emergencies happen, but they're allowing you time to do that, so it's attainable. Relevant, crucial for your role as a leader in whatever capacity you're at, whatever your title is today. And then trackable, feedback from team members and reviews with the manager. That's another good one. 360 evaluations. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent here. We're 55 minutes into this and only 22 slides, but the first hospital I worked at, we had 6 different administrators in 10 years. And so we'd have a new administrator come in, and I reported to the hospital administrator, CEO, and he was going to write my performance evaluation. And I'm like, well, that's not right. He doesn't know anything about me. And so what I did was I submitted a survey request that was specific about my communications, meeting their needs, response, and I gave it to the director of medical imaging, human resources, and culinary dietary services. And then I took their responses to the new CEO and said, I know my evaluation's coming up. You should take this into account. And I actually did that to some extent with my employees on a regular basis. I would say, am I meeting your needs in this environment? Am I giving you what you need as far as, direction, support, encouragement, eliminating roadblocks? Okay, I'll get off that tangent. But those, trackable. So did you circle back with your employees and say, have I improved in this area? Am I listening better? Am I listening to you? So what's the action plan after they complete that class? How do you apply the techniques? And I mentioned that, like, give them a chance to talk. If they're going to Toastmasters, or maybe the class they're working on in their bachelor's degree, give them a chance to share that with the other team members. Keep a log of, we won't get too far into it this time, but the tone and verbiage and communications, whether that's one-on-one communications in a group, email communications, all those things. Keep a log of communication techniques and feedback received, and then schedule regular check-ins. It says monthly check-ins with the mentor manager to review the progress. That's that follow-up we talked about earlier. Tailor goals to the person using situational leadership, one-on-ones, performance coaching. We kind of touched on this in a previous slide. We're going to get more into it. That situational leadership. I guess I was asked several times in interviews what kind of a leader I was. What was my leadership style? And I can be a drill sergeant. I can be a coach. I can be a parent figure. I'm a dad, so I can be a parental figure. I would say I didn't really understand. I wasn't familiar with situational behavior impact or SIB, but I say I'm the type of leader I need to be for the individual, the team that I'm leading. And you recognize that different people need different forms of motivation, that they're encouraged and feel recognized if you pay attention to what drives them. So what should we listen for in one-on-ones? Anybody besides me? What do you listen for in one-on-ones when you talk to your team about goals, or performance, or the work environment? What do you listen for?
Me personally, when it's one-on-one, I try to listen to their concerns and make sure they have valid concerns. It's the number one thing, and then make also feel like they're being heard about their concerns. Because sometimes your team, I think, sometimes as managers we forget, especially we came from the field and now you in management. Sometimes the day-to-days. And when you're telling somebody something, you want to feel like you being heard. You don't want to feel like you just sitting there talking to the wall. So as a lead, I try to, in the one-on-ones, make sure they have my undivided attention, hear their concerns, and then try to come up with a resolution for those concerns. so they feel like their voice is being heard.
Yeah, listening is the most important communication tool. My dad used to say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen, listen. Anybody else? What do you listen for in one-on-ones?
I'll listen for specific information, concise information, not just hearsay or kind of what someone thinks is going on. I like to get into the, meat and potatoes of it, right? What's the actual issue? Not what you've heard, not what you think is going on, but what the actual issue is. So that way we can actually start from a real situation, not something that's kind of, made up or assumed.
Sure. Ask some clarifying questions.
I hope,
Go ahead.
I'd like to, not necessarily get personal, but ask them about their personal life to see if there's things that might be not necessarily wrong, but either right or wrong, things that are going good in their lives and stuff, or things that may be affecting their job performance, just kind of get a little personal, but not too much.
That's good.
That's an excellent point. We spend approximately a third of our life at work. That means there's 2/3 of our day that are in other areas, and our families, our pets are important to us. There's things that are going on that we need to take into account, and I think that gets missed a lot by leaders who don't want to get too personal. They want to maintain a professional relationship, and I think you can do both. You can show concern and ask it how you can support them, and also focus on accomplishing what needs to be accomplished for the good of the organization. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else?
I always ask my employees. And first I will say I'll actually respond to Ruben too. Olivia can attest to this. There are times when I'll jump on a call because I'm very action oriented and we're going to get something done. And then we'll start talking and I'll say, I'm so sorry, Olivia. And then I say it out loud because it's okay to laugh at yourself. And I'll say, Josh, be human. Right. So I remind myself it's okay. Like I'm not a robot. And I'll say, Olivia, how was your weekend? How are you doing? Right. Before jumping into the tasks. But I also, whenever I'm sitting down with 101s and trying to figure out what's the issue, I ask them the role they want me to play. Do you want me to solve your problem? Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to provide guidance? So, because sometimes you just need to get it off your chest. I just need you to listen. Don't solve it for me, right? But I ask that role so that way they are cognitively thinking about, okay, like what do I want from this?
Very good point. I learned that from my wife. Do you want me to tell you how you ought to do this, or do you want me to just listen and be empathetic? Well, that sounds hard. If you haven't done it yet, there's a video. I think it's called The Nail. And you should look it up. It's about couples. It's a man and a woman. They're discussing their problems. I'll try and find a way to share that. Okay, goals should be discussed, not just assigned. What does that mean? Clarify them goals. Be specific. Define what that means. Like this is the goal, and this is the time, and this is who's going to contribute to or might contribute to you. Here's the people that you need to be interacting with or engaging with. You're going to shut the air handler off that serves those ORs. Who you need to speak with, or at least in general, who is the leadership team there. It's critical that employees set their standards with their leadership's input. I never required a lot of motivation, been pretty much a self-starter. However, I do circle back and go, I'm going as fast as I can in this direction. Is that still the right direction? Because, you know, environments change and goals change. And so circling back and making sure you're on the right path. And as a leader, circling back and saying, hey, I saw what you did there. That's exactly what we were talking about. I appreciate that. Keep going. You're doing a great job. Or clarifying it if they're like, maybe you misunderstood. Here was what I was hoping the outcome would be. Are there obstacles that I can remove for you? Is there things I can help you with? Discussion, not just assignment. Good leaders do not treat everyone the same. You come to learn that some people need to be told what to do and when to do it and how to do it. And that's their capacity. That's their limit. That's where they're at. And whether you think that's best or not, that's them. And good leaders recognize that. Good leaders also recognize people that are self-starters and that they're just going to run with it. Like I was just talking about, and you need to check in with them once in a while to make sure they're still going the right direction. Mistake is assuming consistency means using the same approach with everybody. No, you should give everybody a time and attention, but we're all unique, just like everybody else. What happens when we misread what a person needs? Ugh. Yeah, as if that's ever happened. Yeah, we think that we understand what's needed, but maybe we misunderstood. Has that ever happened to you? Anybody?
Yes, definitely has happened. Kind of like what Josh mentioned earlier. I thought they were needing me just to kind of listen and be there, and I was trying to solve the problem for them, and not necessarily what they needed. They just needed to vent, get it off their chest. Then have just kind of that discussion. So yes, definitely been there before.
Yeah, we need to meet them where they're at. And sometimes we misinterpret where they're at. So what happens? Next slide. Yeah. It can cause frustration. Like I thought you meant, right? Too much autonomy on somebody that's learning, a new employee. Too much direction frustrates someone who's already ready for more ownership. Too much reassurance without challenge. Too much challenge without support. It's a balance. It's not easy being a leader, but it's worth it. You see them being successful. It's worth it. So we're going to merge that situational leadership, recognizing what our people need from us, with the SMART goal setting method. So here we're going to kind of divide it into 4. People with low support and low directive behavior. Or high support but low direction.
Mm-hmm.
Or high direction and high support. High direction and low support. So what does that mean? We adjust our style to what they need. By the way, recognize that if they're growing, their needs will change over time.
Has anybody seen this model before? Situational based leadership?
Yeah, I think we discussed it like early on in the training,
Okay.
maybe like the second class.
I was very fortunate to go through this training about. I was trying to think of when it was. I was talking to John, Mr. Peckett, about it yesterday. I think it was 12, 15 years ago. So, and really changed how I approached. I was put into a leadership position long before I should have been a leader. I was not a leader at the time. So I was a manager, but I was not a leader. And this really helped me. I learned that I needed to better understand this model to be able to apply it to individuals, meet them, as John said, where they're at.
Yeah, we manage things, we lead people.
That's good.
So what do you do if you're not aligned with the other person in their level of development? What if you misunderstood that? Has that ever happened to anybody here? Maybe you got a new leader, a new director, a new VP report to, and they don't know you. They don't know what you're capable of yet. They're learning the culture of the organization. They're coming on. So you're not going to be aligned for a while. So what do you do about that? What about a new employee that you brought on? Maybe they came from somewhere else. They got a few years experience at another organization. Where is their level of development? And you're probably not going to be aligned to start with. So how do we sort that out?
I think you have to spend time with that person, have some discussions. I mean, that's usually how you would learn, I guess some background, where they came from, what their views are, what their goals are, and then find that middle ground to align.
Anybody else?
So we have a buddy system whenever new hires get hired on here. So we set them with someone who's kind of in the organization, knows how we, kind of work and processes and such. So usually I use that person to kind of get some feedback from, just kind of check where the new employee's at. And then I'll ask the buddy, hey, where is he? Where do you, what their opinion on him is, and then, have those conversations and adjust accordingly after that. But I'll use that buddy system to kind of give us that information.
All right. Well, we are past the first hour break, and when we come back, we're gonna introduce you to 4 different team members, or team members that are at different levels. And Josh is gonna talk us through how we help them with their SMART goals. So are we at a 5-minute
Yeah, I
break?
think 5 minutes. So be back 18 after 10. Is that 10:18? 10:18. All right.
Well, yeah. Yep. Perfect. Thank you. Olivia, are you still listening?
Yes, hello.
Do you see the pop-up every few seconds? It pops up and say, John's Otter, I'm an AI assistant helping John take notes. How do I shut that off?
I think it's through your Otter account that you set up. It's somehow there's a setting that says join every one of the meetings that you join. And so it's just coming in, but I can ignore it. I'll ignore it and just not let it in. So it shouldn't come up anymore.
But it says I can put Otter Stop in the Zoom chat.
So it might be okay then. It may not come up again. Oh, I don't know that. No, I don't think it's going to listen to that. But if it
Otter
tries
Stop.
to, I think because of the account, because we have Otter on here anyway, like through the legacy account. So it's being captured. So if it comes up again, it'll come into the waiting room and I'll just leave it in the waiting room.
Thank you.
And so that shouldn't happen anymore.
So
But I
this is
think,
like my second week with Legacy FM when I created my own account because it said somebody had.
so I think there's a setting in your account, but because it's not like a corporate account, it's got a limit. So it'll leave once it's hit its time limit, and then it keeps trying to rejoin, and then it gets kicked out again. So it's trying really hard.
I'm going to set a goal that I delete that.
I can help you if you need help.
Okay. I'm going to take a couple minutes and go get
Yep, yep.
things.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I see Mohammed. Who else is back?
Like we never left.
Like you never left. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna introduce you to Emily, Mark, Lisa, and David. We'll go one by one. I want you to actually, and we'll go back and reference the situational leadership chart as well as we're going through this. So let's look at Emily first. So Emily's a new maintenance tech who recently started and joined facilities engineering. She's enthusiastic about her role, but needs to gain experience in facilities management. Emily's tasked with routinely inspecting the HVAC systems to ensure they're functioning properly and meet our regulatory requirements. How do we lead Emily in this situation? We're going to provide clear instructions to her on how to conduct the inspection, including what to look for and how to document any issues. Closely supervise her work, offering guidance and feedback to ensure she understands her responsibilities and completes the tasks accurately. So now, thinking back, if we go back to the D1 to D4 chart, if you can, there we go. Where is Emily on the developmental scale? Where do we think she is?
Probably low to some competence.
Thinking maybe a D2?
Yeah, D2.
Anybody else?
I'm closer to D1.
You got a D1?
I
Why
would
do you
lean
like?
toward D1. She's motivated, but doesn't have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it talks about she's motivated, she's excited about her job. I think it said enthusiastic, right? So she is. We've got her as a D1 enthusiastic beginner, right? So she's got low competence, right? And competence is not, I think a lot of the times I personally, right, it's a carry a connotation associated with the term competence, right? If somebody says you're not competent, in the past, I've said, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm dumb? I'm competent, right? Like, but competence is not a bad word. It's a word. It's okay to normalize the word competence, right? So I tell people frequently, there's another model that we're not talking about today, but it's called the levels of competence. And there are times that I am very much unconsciously incompetent. And what that means is I don't know what I don't know, right? That's not a bad thing. It's achieving those levels of competence is if you don't know something, then how can you be competent in it? And that's really, really important to understand as you're talking to team members. So she's new. She's new to it. She's inexperienced. She doesn't know what they don't know. There you go, right? Unconsciously incompetent. But she's eager. She's curious. We want these employees, right? We want these employees that want to be able to learn and grow. What does she need? She needs SMART goals. She needs acknowledgement of her transferable skills. She needs a step-by-step plan for this, right? So when you're a D1, it's I'm going to tell you how to do it, right? This is that level of micromanaging that we need to do in order to meet Emily where she's at, right? She needs access to resources. She needs opportunities to practice in a safe environment. She needs limits to her autonomy and authority, right? We're not going to say, okay, Emily, it's fine. You'll go inspect the air handling unit for the operating room without giving her any guidance. What SMART goal? Come up. We're going to work on this. We're going to craft this together, right? So I want to type it out as we're going through it. So what SMART goal would you give to Emily? We've got quite a bit of leeway here.
I think I would put her with a buddy and kind of have them mentor her, so to speak, in what the task involves and how to complete it properly.
Okay. So pair Emily with a experienced team member to shadow training, shadow tasks. Is that okay? So is that that specific enough?
I think we would need to provide her with documentation showing her step by step. Probably routine inspections for the HVAC system, something with detailed information.
With step by step instructions. Okay.
And I think also you add in that having follow-up meetings like every 30, 60, or 45 days, something like that to see where her training at. Or to also observe her on one of her calls while she's doing the training or the inspections to see where she's at with her tasks.
It's good. Good job. Okay. With follow-up meetings to ensure she is on track. All right. So pair Emily with an experienced team member to shadow task with step-by-step instructions with follow-up meetings to ensure she's on track.
I think we need to clarify routinely.
Ooh, I agree. Okay. How often with follow-up meetings? I think you said every 30 days, Michael?
I would say like 30 days, but I know there's something that they have done at TCH that matter of fact I have to complete mine. We have like called the a mid-year report. So just having routine meeting, when I say routinely, I know a lot of companies that have like the 30, 60, 90 days. But I also believe in training with somebody. You don't necessarily have to schedule meetings just to meet. You can actually just go with them. You could pick a week just to see what they're doing. Like for example, if they're doing a generator test, this Monday test, I'm gonna come with you just to see how you're doing the test, to see if anything that you need to be trained on, or that we missed something in training that you wasn't aware of. So I think as a leader is okay to just go when they're doing their routine daily tasks to see what they're doing all the way they're going by doing it.
That's good. One way to really help new team members, especially D1 team members, is methodology taught by the military. Actually, it's called See One, Do One, Teach One. So watch somebody else do it, then have them or the supervisor watch you performing the task, so that way you can be there and correct. But then really solidifying it is having Emily teach somebody else how to do it. All right. So this is what we got. I put that in there for you guys because so for you for future. Next slide. So there's some practice as we're going through this as well. We're going to closely supervise her work. We talked about that. We're offering guidance and feedback so she understands the task. Pairing her with somebody that has been doing this for a while, a seasoned employee, is a good idea. So leadership behaviors, whenever you're seeing what we were talking about earlier, so clarify the purpose of the meeting. I'd like to talk to you about starting it out that way. Your skills of blank would be really helpful. Acknowledging her enthusiasm. I appreciate your, right? So what you're doing is you're recognizing, recognizing and meeting Emily where she's at. We won't go through every single one of these, but define boundaries, right? You can go this far, but you need to check in with me. So don't ramp down the air handling unit. Don't remove HEPA filters. Right? Setting boundaries and limitations there. Providing feedback. Here's what I've observed. Right? Or even capturing that feedback from a seasoned employee as well. Providing information, resources, and solutions. sometimes we think, you know, and it's very easy as a leader to forget. I can't remember. I think it was Michael. You're the one who said, like, a lot of us started in the trades, right? And as we continue to grow in our careers and in our life, sometimes it's hard to remember what it was like to be that D1, right? In that specific situation. And we'll say, go change the belt on the air handling unit or on the exhaust fan, as if it's just a casual thing that we've done 100 times, maybe not remembering all of the steps of what's necessary. So being able to say, here's some resources that can help you as well. And then always making sure that you're following through, setting up your next meeting. Next time I'd like to talk to you about. Mark. Let's meet Mark. Mark's facilities manager overseeing facilities engineering for a few months. He has developed some basic skills and knowledge in facilities management. He needs more confidence in his decision-making abilities. Mark's responsible for coordinating a maintenance schedule for the hospital equipment, ensuring preventative maintenance tasks are completed efficiently and on time. Recognize Mark's potential, but acknowledge his need for guidance and support. Coach Mark to help him develop the maintenance schedule, providing feedback and guidance to improve his decision-making skills. Encourage him to ask questions and explore different approaches, fostering his confidence and his competence. Let's go back to the chart. What do we think? What do we think Mark is?
A D3.
D3? What else? Anybody else have a different opinion?
I'm between
I said
a D3 and a D2.
Between a 3 and 2? Okay, and somebody else said 2? Yeah, I mean, we put him as a 2. Primarily, if we go back and look, it said some
Coaching, yeah.
coaching, I think it said needs more confidence in his decision-making ability. So can you go back to the chart too? Sorry, apologize. So we're going to meet him. We're meeting him where he's at. So just to explain, like, his developed behavior influences our supportive behavior, right? That's why it's color coordinated here. So he needs coaching. Mark needs coaching, which means it's high directive, high supportive. So he has low to some competence, right? So he has some knowledge and skills he's learning that are he's not competent in yet. Doesn't necessarily know how to move forward, right? And I'm sure, have you ever had a project that you were handed and kind of froze because you didn't know where to start, and then you started spinning your wheels and found out maybe you were going the wrong way? That ever happened to anybody, or just me? That happens to me, I feel like, every day.
Yeah, it's happened to me.
Yeah. And you kind of just freeze. Because you're like, well, I don't want to work on it, or you avoid working on it, right? You avoid working on it because you don't know if you're doing it right. That can lead to, like, when you get that feedback, then that can lead to discouragement and frustration, right? Causing Mark to want to quit. Have we ever lost a good team member because they were frustrated because they couldn't figure out that job, or we maybe promoted somebody like myself, right? So, like, I was promoted too early into a management position, and I was not given any of the tools in order to be really successful in leading other people. That caused me a tremendous amount of frustration and anxiety in my personal life, even, felt
That
overwhelmed.
That actually happens a lot.
It happens a lot, doesn't it? Right. Yes. Yes. All right. So what SMART goal would we develop for Mark? I'll type it out again.
This is when you also give them, like you said, written instructions, but a shorter timeline, and that you go back and look at what he did maybe before the end of the day, and reassure him once you found that he did everything correctly, reassure him that the job was done correctly, and give him some positive reinforcement.
That's good. Okay. So that would be so the frequency would be more frequent. How often do you think you would meet with Mark on this?
Oh, probably weekly.
Weekly?
Yeah.
I would go right after the task and just kind of see what was accomplished.
Okay. So are you going to give Mark the entire maintenance schedule? Say, okay, I need this maintenance schedule done by the end of the year.
No, so definitely some check-ins while he's developing the maintenance schedule. So maybe we cut it up into just work on fire extinguisher schedule.
Okay, there we go. All right, so develop a fire extinguisher maintenance schedule for just the hospital or for all Texas Children's buildings? Because you guys have clinics.
Yeah, we have so let's just say medical center. So that's going to be the hospital, the MOB, and the research building. So I think that's 5 buildings.
Good. Okay. Develop a fire extinguisher maintenance schedule for the medical center. That's pretty specific
And attainable.
and attainable. It's relevant to what he's doing. So, trackable. So we said weekly. So how long would you give him to go through this task?
I mean, I think it could be done in a day, but maybe we assign it on Monday and we check back with them on Wednesday. So
Okay.
3 days.
By Wednesday of this week. Okay, so develop a fire extinguisher maintenance schedule for the medical center by Wednesday of this week. So you're giving him something pretty small, right? That hopefully is going to build his confidence a little bit. What does Mark need to know about fire extinguisher maintenance, though, in order to make this happen? Or what does he need to know in general about Texas Children's to make this happen? He needs to know, I'll give you one, right? So Miguel said he needs to know that the medical center is 5 buildings, right? Not just the one, not just the hospital. So he'll need to know that. What else does he need to know?
How many per building?
How many extinguishers? Are we talking 100 or are we talking 5,000?
You also need
Locations.
to know locations, correct?
The location. Yep.
And he also needs to know the type of fire extinguishers for the different areas.
Yeah.
Mm,
So maybe give them the last year report for every building, and that should give him all the information he needs.
that's good.
Yeah.
Are we assuming that Mark knows how to do a fire extinguisher inspection?
I think we are.
And that'd be a good question to talk to him about.
Yeah.
If he hasn't ever done one, how does he know how long it's going to take? And then I think the last thing would really be, how many people do we have? Or it could argue that maybe that's not important because he's going to tell you this is how many people I need.
Yeah. Maybe include a copy of NFPA 10.
There you go. Hey, you can go and read all about fire extinguishers all you want in this beautiful book.
Create a checklist.
Ah, create a checklist. There you go. Okay. So that's a good example of the coaching and resources that you can go to the next slide that you can provide to Mark as he's going through this, right? So we're coaching him on something that is overall from a facilities perspective pretty simple. We're giving him the ability to make mistakes early on something that is not going to impact patient care directly, right? If we miss a fire extinguisher, nobody's going to die, right? So everything's going to be okay. So, and we're giving him that chance to build his confidence in a safe way, right? So, how are things going? How are you feeling? Listen to his concerns, right? Something that may seem pretty simple to us, we may think, hey, you can have this done by Wednesday. And again, he may be spiraling. NFPA 10, where do I find that? I don't even know what that is. What are the inspection criteria? I've never had to do this before. Get style 2 agreement. So since you're still learning and maybe you list the feelings, would it be helpful if I provided you direction? This is called labeling. I don't think you guys have gone through negotiation class yet, but when you label somebody's feelings, what you're able to do is they have the ability to correct you. No, I'm not feeling this. I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling anxious, or I am unclear, right? So that helps you then calibrate your conversation, right, to what they are feeling. I'd like to also hear your ideas. What are you thinking, right? They may come up with a great idea of, I know you asked me, boss, I know you asked me to go through and develop fire extinguisher maintenance schedule, but I also noticed that exit signs were a monthly inspection. I think it would be really good and prudent of us to combine those into a single inspection, so that way, as I'm walking down the corridor, I'm doing two things at once, right? So sometimes if we put blinders on somebody and say, do this, and we don't give them the opportunity, then they're not going to come up with a creative alternative that could save time and money for Texas Children's. Let's meet Lisa. Lisa's facilities director, several years of experience in healthcare facilities management. While she's proficient in her role, she sometimes lacks motivation and commitment, especially during busy or challenging times. She's leading EH&S team, implementing new waste management system in the hospital to improve efficiency and compliance in environmental regulations. How to lead Lisa. Express confidence in Lisa's ability to lead the implementation of the new waste management system while providing support and encouragement along the way. Offer assistance and resources to help Lisa overcome obstacles, fostering a positive and collaborative work environment. Where do we think Lisa is on our developmental chart?
D3.
D3?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Luis is shaking his head, yeah.
Yeah, D3 for me as well.
Okay. All right, D3. All right, so moderate to high competence, variable commitment. Back to the chart, sorry. So we're gonna have her in a supporting, right? So high support, but low directive. What we don't want to do is tell Lisa what to do, right? We don't want to say specifically step by step. We want to support her. How can I help you? What can I do to support you? What do you need from me? What resources can I provide? But if I start telling Lisa how to implement the waste management and what to do, how do you think Lisa's going to feel about that?
Like we're micromanaging her.
This is typically where we have employees that start saying, I'm feeling micromanaged. Josh, or they're sharing with other employees, Josh is a micromanager, right? Because what we're doing then is we are not following the supporting model, we're directing, right? So we are telling her, here is what you need to do. Right? So really we're treating her more in the coaching role, high directive, high supportive. Hey, I'm here to support you. Let me give you not necessarily step by step, but this is what you should do.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's look at it. So yeah, D3. So what does she need? Right. So well, let's look at her commitment. So sometimes the commitment, we said she has low commitment. Again, that doesn't mean that she's not committed to Texas Children's or to the commitment is typically comes in a lack of confidence, right? I'm scared. I'm unsure, right? So, and we use this a lot at Legacy FM, right? So like and my wife uses it on me. You guys have met Lindsay, right? So, but it's do it scared, do it unsure, right? So there's a story I'll tell you real quickly. It's from a book called Take the Stairs, and there was a lady who was terrified of going downstairs. Like it was just a fear that she had, and she was in an apartment fire, and the firefighters came upstairs to get her. She had already said she had accepted her death, right? And there's a difference in fearing death and accepting death. And she had accepted that she was going to die in this fire. The firefighters found her, and they grabbed her, and they're like trying to pull her out of this apartment. She's kicking and screaming, no, 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 I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. And they said, it's okay, do it scared. Right. So, and sometimes we just need that level of reassurance and coaching, right? So, and that's what we're doing with Lisa here is if you're unsure, it's okay. Do it unsure. Like at least start. You don't necessarily have to finish, but start. She needs opinions and ideas. She needs a vote of confidence. I trust you to do this. Is it going to be perfect? Probably not. That's okay. We're going to work through it together to make sure that we get it perfect. But I believe that you can get it 90% of the way there on your own without me. You're good. You've got this. You've been leading this department for years. You know what to do. All right. What's a SMART goal for Lisa?
I think a small goal for Lisa would be more confidence in your decisions, and even if they're wrong, being confident in making a decision because every decision is not going to be right. I mean, you don't want to make the worst decision ever, right? You don't want to bring a building down in that situation. but you're gonna have a few that you're gonna learn from and being important and being confident. Because a lot of time your team gonna look for you for leadership and guidance, especially in the role of Lisa.
Exactly. So do you think we should again just give it to Lisa and say, go implement this waste management program?
I think you should give it to Lisa and let her set it up, and then oversee it. And then if you see that she made a mistake, guide her on that. But she got to have the confidence in doing the work. So if I'll give an example, I might have an electrician that's doing an outage, and I might need him to go ahead on and do it because I'm gonna be taking time off from work. So I'm gonna give him a small outage first. I'm letting him plan it out. Before we present it to leadership, I'm gonna go over it with him so I can correct the mistakes that are being made, but also give him the confidence that he can make these decisions and why we do the way we doing the things that we doing.
There you go. Exactly. Like that's really what Lisa needs. And she's struggling with her confidence, right? So of I don't know that I'm good enough to do this. Or that I'm capable of making that decision, right? So it's okay, Lisa, let's set a goal. I want you to dedicate 2 hours a day over the next week and block your calendar and work on this and only this. Put your phone on do not disturb. And then next Monday, let's sit down. I'm going to schedule time with you and let's go through what you've been able to come up with. Right. And I want you to think outside of the box. I want you to know you've got these, you're the expert here. I trust you to make these decisions. And I also know that you want my buy-in, right? You have my vote of confidence. I believe that you can get this 90% of the way there. Let's meet in a week. How does that sound? Right. So it's specific, it's trackable, it's relevant, it's motivating because we've told her, we trust her. Same thing like Michael, what you were saying with the electrician. Next slide. So similar, right? So here we're gonna get a little bit different. So development leadership style. So what you need me to do is listen, right? So we talked about that earlier. Lisa, what do you need from me, right? Would it be helpful if I provided you advice or direction, or do you just want to talk through it? I'm confident you can or you will be able to. I appreciate when we're acknowledging her competence. So, and this is a good one also, but I like that. Reflect on past successes, right? So she's been with the department. She knows Texas. Do you remember that time that you implemented the new medical gas policy? Right? And how successful that was and how it's XYZ helped Texas Children's. I believe that that's what's going to happen this time. All right. Let's meet David. David's a senior facilities director who's been with Texas Children's for many years, highly skilled, knowledgeable, committed to his work, consistently exceeds expectations, demonstrates strong leadership qualities. David is tasked with developing a comprehensive strategic plan for facilities management, outlining key objectives, priorities, action steps to optimize operations and support the organization's long term. How to lead David. Entrust him with developing the strategic plan independently, recognizing his competency and his commitment to the task. Provide David with the necessary information and resources to give him autonomy to make decisions and prioritize initiatives based on his expertise and judgment. So if we go back to the chart, I think we figured it out, right? He's a D4, right? We did kind of step through this, so it wasn't a trick, but D4. So this is a delegating role that somebody should provide. And a lot of the times you'll see this, right? With even you, right? So like I'm sure Salem has delegated things to you because he trusts, or you've seen maybe Bert delegate to Salem and say, I need to need you to take this and run with it. This is a role where it's a low supportive and low directive behavior, right? So low support doesn't mean that you're not supporting. It's that the individual doesn't need your support for it. And if you over support, again, this is where you'll get into that micromanaging type of I got this, right? So like, and it's important for you as well as somebody who accepts tasks that are delegated, that you are able to look at your boss. And I do this frequently with my boss, and I look at my boss and I say, boss, I got it. That's it. And he knows, like, that's it. So we've got that kind of rapport and relationship where we're able to have those kind of direct conversations. So he is a self-reliant achiever. He's autonomous, influence. He has autonomy. He has influence. He needs opportunities to grow. This is a challenge for David, right? So that's what we're doing. We're giving him that next level challenge of I know what I know. I'm smart. I'm competent. I know when to come and ask for help, right? I don't need you to come. You don't need to check in with me. I've got this. But when I come and I ask you for something, it means that I need something, right? So, and once you have that kind of relationship, and all of you in some capacities are D4s, and at the same time, all of you in some capacity are D1s, right? So if I tell you, we'll say, I'm going to go, I need you guys to rebuild the entire infection prevention program from a clinical perspective. Not facilities perspective, clinical perspective. Can anybody do that on this call? Probably not. You're probably not epidemiologists and senior infection prevention experts, right? I don't know the first thing about really surgical site wound infections. I would be a D1 there. I would need a lot of coaching, a lot of direction, right? Step by step, hold my hand, walk me through it. So it's important to always recognize in yourself. And I do this, I really do this frequently on a weekly basis. When I have a task, I will reflect and say, where am I in the development scale here? What do I need for this to be successful? I do that with myself, but then I also use this model with my team. And I ask them, where are you? What do you need from me? All right. SMART goal. So it's still, now we're really not co-developing the SMART goal with David, right? So David at this point should be creating this SMART goal on his own, providing it to leadership. A good one would be that he's going to set the time. He's going to tell you when it'll be done. He's going to say, I'm going to need some resources to help me. I'm going to use a PM for the next 2 hours a week for the next 5 weeks. I'm going to need somebody to help me pull some data. I'm going to use our administrative assistant for an hour and build his goal around that and present it. So here, what we're talking about is it's meeting David where he's at, right? If he's working on something that he's excited about because he's growing and it's a challenge for him, he's going to want to talk to you about stuff. He's going to say, hey, I figured out XYZ. I'm excited, right? You sometimes will feel that excitement coming through some of those meetings. Who else should know about your success? Who do you want me to tell, right? So like, I'm always constantly taking my employees up to our VP and saying, this was most recently it was a risk assessment for medical gas, right? So we decreased our medical gas testing to triennial, and I assigned it to somebody who was a D3 in this case, and he ended up doing really, really well on it. And I promoted him. I said to the VP, saying like, here's an example of somebody who's really going above and beyond and operating outside of their role. Take action. Here's what I would do with what you have suggested. And then how do you want me to stay informed? Do you want me to touch base with you? Do you want to send me emails? I'm excited about your progress. I would like to stay in the loop. How frequently would you like to meet? Tailoring leadership is not about guessing based on labels. It's not guessing, right? It's through observation, dialogue, and performance evidence. That's what we're looking for, right? So we're not just looking and saying that I guess you're a D1. I guess you're a D3. You have to understand like how they're showing up at that for the goal in the moment under those conditions. And sometimes you're going to mislabel. And you're going to figure that out whenever you may put them as a coaching and figure out that based on the conversations that you're having, that they feel that you're micromanaging, right? So, which means that they're actually maybe a D3 and you're treating them as a D2. You got to look for those kind of things. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, keep going. And actually, I think what was our next slide, John, that we were gonna, was this our break? Apologies. You're on mute, John.
I do my best to work on mute.
Me too. When were we taking another break? What slide? I apologize. I think it was.
That's all right. We were going to 59, but
Okay, that's good. No, we'll keep going. Feedback is everyday leadership, right? So providing feedback is important. Waiting too long causes preventable problems. This is something that I still struggle with, and everybody, some of my employees need more frequent feedback than others. And again, this is based on where they're at on the given task that they are working on. But if you can catch something early, then it's a small issue, right? And you can think about this from a project management perspective. You can think about this from the amount of work that goes into something. But if you catch something early, then it's pretty easy to correct course, correct the ship. It also you're missing out on opportunities, right? To recognize that the work that they're doing, right? So if you wait too long, they may have moved on to something else. So if you say, hey, great job on that thing that you did a month ago, it's not really timely anymore to receive. Well, thank you. But it's not going to hit the same way as if it's, I noticed this is what you're doing. I already see the impact. Look at the ripple effect that it's having. Mr. Puckett.
Yeah, I just wanted to share this. Talks about everyday behavior. There's so much of the world that's inconsistent, so many things that change rapidly that we don't have much control over. But if you can be consistent in the way you address people, the way you demonstrate appreciation, the way you clarify questions and listen to what they have to say, then your consistency is, humans are such creatures of habit. And if they become comfortable because your approach is consistent, you're going to go a long ways toward leading others.
Very good. Yeah. So what kind of feedback do leaders avoid most often?
critical. Corrective.
Critical, corrective. What say you guys?
Negative feedback.
Negative?
Mhm.
I don't know about you guys, but if I'm doing something wrong, I really just want my boss to rip off the Band-Aid or the duct tape or whatever it is, right? That's me personally. But I want to know if I screwed up. Anybody else feel that way? Or some people just, I mean, some people don't. Some people don't.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I asked that question, hey, is there anything that that I can do better? And that's usually on our, weekly conversations that I have with Salem. But not everybody's like that. Not everybody can take criticism well.
It's true. I think in general, most leaders struggle with that critical feedback, providing constructive criticism. But I think it's also one of the most important things that you can do. Yes, sir, Mr. Bucket.
Yeah, I would say that in my experience, people that lack confidence aren't responsive to correction or feedback that might be perceived as critical. And we have some control over that, because if we express confidence and recognize their abilities and their strengths, then they're more likely to be receptive to feedback that says, I like what you're doing here. This could be even better. So it can be the way that you approach it. And if you avoid that, then you create that, you damage that opportunity there to develop confidence and to recommend improvement steps.
Absolutely. Feedback turns goals into performance. That's what helps us stay on course. Right. So if I am going left and you needed me to go right, the longer that I go left, the further away from the original goal I am. Right. And I find frequently that most of the time when my team goes left, it's because I didn't clearly communicate to them go right. It typically comes in a communication breakdown on my behalf. It connects the intention to behavior and the behavior to the result. Feedback overall is reducing the ambiguity, build confidence, and reinforce accountability. And it doesn't have to be, a lot of the times it's not hours of time that you're taking away, right? I don't need an hour meeting to talk to you about a specific project. Having an agenda and, going through, like, I'd like to set a meeting to talk about X. So that is important. That is an important way to move forward. I apologize. I do have to step away and take this. John, can you take over?
You bet. Yeah, giving good feedback, like it says, connects intention to behavior and behavior to results. I think this falls right in with, we used to have cascading. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but cascading goals. So the organization might have goals around financial performance, goals around reducing catheter-acquired urinary tract infections, the things that we don't know that we necessarily have a lot of direct impact to. Driving up the HCAP scores, employee retention, all of those things. So we try and find that connection between what it is that is needed from us and how we can impact that. This really circles back to where I talked about how it was it was always challenge for me to take the power plant operators and technicians and make the connection to. So SSM Health said, through our exceptional healthcare services, we reveal the healing presence of God. And a boiler operator might struggle with that. What does that mean to me, and how can I contribute to that? But if the outcome of a patient is going to be impacted by the way we operate our boilers, our air handlers, steam processing, water quality, indoor air quality, pressure relationship, all of those things, then we do contribute to that. And it's important to make that connection. Strong leaders reduce that ambiguity about what it is that they're expecting and how it impacts patients. Almost everybody needs to do meaningful work. You will find people that they just want to clock in at 7, clock out at 3:30. They want to turn wrenches and do whatever's you handed them to do, and that's all the farther they're going to go. And if they're reliable and consistent in it, that might be their best. And that's another leadership attribute, is that you recognize when people are doing their best and when they don't want to be challenged. They don't want to grow. They don't want advancement. They just want to do their job. They want to get their benefits, get their retirement, and they're essential too. But a good leader is going to recognize that and give them things that might challenge them as far as occupying the most of their time, but also give the ones that see the potential for advancement those challenges. 3 types of feedback. Appreciation. That's, we talked earlier, and if you start with that, I'm glad that they started with that here. If you start with appreciation, then you can deliver some of the others that are a little less valued, or people aren't all that receptive. Most everybody likes to feel like that they're appreciated by their colleagues, peers, the patient's executive team, whoever, and that reinforces positive effort and growth. Coaching feedback, help someone think differently, solve problems. If we go back, I think it was David that said, encourage him to try new things. Michael Jordan said he missed 100% of the shots he didn't take, right? So, you encourage somebody and give them feedback on that. Like, I like that you were brave enough to try this. It doesn't appear that it's worked out very well. So we need to adjust our sails or go back to doing it the way we were before. So give them some coaching and minimize the, this isn't, you're a failure. It's like, that didn't work the way we wanted it to, right? So you separate the activity from the person. And then evaluation feedback, performance standards. So we're going to differentiate a little bit here between maybe what those monthly interactions with David, who was working to develop a program that would ensure that all of the fire extinguishers are tested or shaken and signed off on, inspected regularly. And then an evaluation would be like, how do you, we look at the last quarter or last year, depending in your organization, how they drive that. This is how you're doing relative to expectations. And I think that gives people a baseline. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's a true old cliche also. But without some comparison, you really don't know. You don't have to compare yourself to others. You can compare yourself to where you were at and say, this is the evidence that you're getting even better. So let's continue down this path. Given that evaluation is good feedback. So match it to the need. You know, we use some, at least one of the 4 team members that we looked at earlier had a lack of confidence, at least 2 maybe. One that didn't have any experience and one that just had some experience but didn't feel confident. So the feedback they need is encouraging, recognizing, and appreciating, right? Strengthens that behavior and builds confidence. Yeah, when you need to talk about where performance is against expectations, it's necessary to ensure there's no confusion about it. And that's why, you know, whenever I gave assignments, I clarified expectations. One of the most important things to share in those is asking, does that make sense to you? You know, we at the conclusion of this class here today, there's some surveys that'll come out. Did you get what you needed from this? Is this something that's useful to you? Were Josh and John able to share with you steps that will help you be better in what you do? We need that feedback. If we can make some adjustments so you get more benefit out of it, then we absolutely will. So that evaluation is essential. If somebody's really putting forth an effort, then you need to recognize that. If you can tell that they're lacking motivation, you need to ask some questions about, like, what can I do to help you feel like to recognize the importance of what you do and continue to process that. Next slide. Yeah, don't save feedback for formal reviews. Like Josh, I was an ill-prepared manager for my first assignment, and I had been a deputy sheriff. I'd been a military cop and a deputy sheriff, and then I went to work in hospitals. And so I was really good at telling people what to do and how to do it. And I wasn't very good at getting their buy-in. And we had an annual performance review process. I had a colleague that reported to me. We were generally friends as far as, working together. And but he was notoriously late. He would show up at 10 after 7, and he'd take 45 minutes or an hour for lunch. It should have been 30. And I would say, well, I'm glad you could make it today or whatever, but kind of passive aggressive. But I didn't really say, hey, we start at 7. It's important. What you do is important. And so I'd like to see you here at 7. I'm here at 7 or before. And does that, ask him time. I didn't do that in a timely manner. I waited. And then when I had this review, I got to fill in the blanks. Punctuality was one of the assessments. And I was like, no, actually, you're not very punctual. He was horribly offended by that. Filed a grievance with our hospital administrator, CEO. We had a conversation. I learned that. It was one of those painful lessons. I could give people feedback in real time. Both the boy, I really like what you're doing here. I'm glad to see you here on this. I'm confident that your performance in this undertaking, this task, is essential. And I know that you're the guy for the job or the girl for the job. I know you're the person, the individual that can do this right. So give that to them and say, alternatively, like, hey, it looks like we missed something on that goal here. Was there something I can do to help you get through that? Was there an obstacle I can remove for you? Was there some part of the task that I can clarify for you? Do that in a real-time manner. As soon after that result as you can in both those categories. Next slide. 6 tips. Clarify the goal. Yeah. Did you it looks like we didn't meet this goal. We didn't get these done. We didn't get these fire extinguishers done as intended. Did you not understand if that was the goal, or did I just lead you, or was there a misunderstanding here? Something I can do to clarify that. And then what do you need to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish? What are the issues? What's an impediment to what we've asked you to do? Are you getting pulled in multiple directions? That kind of thing. How can I help you with that? And then identify options. I've had a number of people who I've promoted through the years, and that transition from being a technician, a senior technician, somebody, an informal leader, to having a formal deal, it's easy to fall back on doing things yourself. And there's an old cliche that should never be used. Is if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. If you can't lead people, well, then you're in the wrong class. And if you can't lead people, then you're never going to get more than one good person's work done at a time. So it's important to be able to lead others and help people develop that. So identify the options, generate ideas, like, apply what you learned from the way I interact with you to the way you interact with your team, and we'll meet those objectives. Next, set expectations. What is at the end of the day, this is what we need. So it's kind of the goals. And then motivate, like this is important. These are life safety. The fire extinguishers, Josh said, if we miss one, nobody's going to die. We hope not. If there's a fire in that area, it could happen. So, set the importance of the goal and use that for motivation. Identify the plan. How will you have an inventory of those fire extinguishers in those buildings, right? The research center, the MOB, and there was 3 sites. How many do you have there? Be positive. Make sure that the goal is achievable, and you can look back on the history if you've been meeting it for a while. It says, ideally, then we already know that it's a realistic goal or it's achievable. Is our feedback reciprocal? It's not just me saying, you did a great job on this. This seems to be, is there anything that I can do to help this go better? Or are there additional tasks you might take? That reciprocal is the give and take in the conversation when you're delivering feedback. Was there a reason? Was there something I could do better that would help you understand the goal or the importance of the goal? So that gives them a chance to interact. Feedback works both ways, and timely, and then the specific. So this is almost a variation on the SMART goal, right? So you're using a lot of the same things. Be specific about it. So that the gentleman that I didn't give timely feedback to, I should say, it's really, it's a half hour for lunch, and it's, we clock in at 7. It's important to be punctual. And I, instead of doing that, I wasn't very specific in delivering feedback. So we learned from that. Next slide. Even during difficult conversations, keep comments positive. I'm going to talk about a couple of things here that do not sandwich negative feedback between layers of positive, because the communication is unclear. In my experience, I think you set the tone for a meeting. Even a difficult conversation with meeting was identifying the components of an employee's approach or behavior that are you value, that you recognize, you appreciate, you value, and then go, here's the parts that we need to work on. This is a difficult conversation because we've talked about this before. We can't miss these life safety inspections. So let's circle back and talk about how we can do this, because we've not met that goal. This is a difficult conversation. So the second time, third time, whatever, we're tracking this. It doesn't mean be vague about anything. Don't confuse feedback with compliments, but they're both important. And then, constructive feedback, like everything else, like all of your interactions, should be realistic and attainable when you're challenging them. People can rise to the challenge, and most people like to be challenged. We do have a competitive nature. That's another one of those things I said earlier, that we're creatures of habit. We're also creatures of competition. We rise to a competitive challenge. Speaking of competitive challenges, we've got 8 or 10 slides to go here. Does everybody need to take a 5-minute break? Anybody? All in favor, raise your hand. If you just want to keep plowing through this, silence is, I might just keep going. Josh, what do you think?
I think we're I think we're okay. You guys are okay?
Yeah, we're okay.
Okay. And
All
I'm
right.
back, by the
I'm
way.
good.
So one of those facilities emergencies. They happen, right?
Yeah. Do you want to run with it? Or want me to keep going?
Uh I can step in. That's all right. Yeah. Actually, you're in the middle of parts. Why don't you finish? Yeah, you keep
Yeah.
going. That, yeah.
All right. You know I can. Yeah. So yeah, we talk about realistic and attainable feedback and the importance of that, because you give people steps and goals for others to follow, then your feedback on how they accomplish that or don't accomplish that is crucial in the process. Constructive feedback, we always try and coach things in a constructive manner. And then if you're unrealistic in your expectations or your feedback, that it can be demotivating. We talked about in our team of 4 employees, those that were not very motivated. They're certainly capable, but they don't feel challenged. So giving them constructive feedback can help develop that. Next slide. Deliver it in person as much as possible. That's why we do these interactions. This is as close to in person as possible. One day I hope I'll fly down there and get to visit with you all and deliver these. There is so much communicated in person. Texts are very handy. Emails are time stamped and trackable. There's nothing wrong with that, but especially when you're talking about leadership, that really needs to be in person, because there's so much communicated in person, whether it's body language, tone of voice, facial expressions, scratching your head and like, he didn't really understand that. So deliver it in person and invite the opportunity for conversation. That's your feedback to them, and you're encouraging their feedback to you. Next slide. Immediate feedback has greater impact on the person receiving it. It gives them a chance to adjust. If they misunderstood, or maybe they thought this was easier than it is, and somebody is actually holding them accountable, then that immediate feedback is going to help them meet that goal. And their goal at the end of the day, none of us have direct reports that don't want to meet goals. They don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation with their leader. And uncomfortable can be like, wasn't able to meet that. It can also be an opportunity to request further support and assistance. As time passes, details fade from memory. So make sure that you do things immediately. Back to my friend and my first managerial opportunity. Yeah. Next slide. Detailed, relevant feedback about goals. And goals can be pretty black and white, right? They can be pretty specific and measurable. I don't know. I suspect for the most part, we all have integrated work management systems or computerized maintenance management software that tells us that these smoke dampers need to be tested, 1 year after installation, and then every 3 to 6 years after that. Those are pretty specific. Job responsibilities are, how do they get those done? And do they do them in a safe manner? And then their behaviors are how they interact maybe with others in the accomplishment of those goals. So offer good feedback on all 3 of those. If you might see somebody who's doesn't reflect appreciation for their coworkers or peers or partners that they have in these challenges. So giving some good feedback on how they're perceived, and that's another important part of this. Behaviors are perceived. Tone can be perceived. I like my first managerial gig, the one I referenced earlier. I created a suggestion box in the break room for people to put stuff in, and during one of my early interactions with the CFO who I reported to at that time, he said, you know, there was 21 pieces of paper in the suggestion box that said you were gruff and unapproachable. That's not necessarily welcome feedback, but it was honest, and I really was. I came from, like I said, a military law enforcement background, and I did not take the time to build and create buy-in and to listen to others. And so that was that feedback. Yeah, it's important that they understand how my behavior affects other people, and you can't see that from your perspective. You need to see it from theirs. And so relevant feedback, 21 examples. And I was like, was it all the same handwriting? So here's an example of good feedback. Sarah, thank you for staying on top of project communications. Your weekly updates are really helping everyone. I notice your emails seem passive aggressive and sometimes curt. I know you don't intend to come across that way, so I'm giving you this feedback. I encourage you to keep your communication positive and conversational. That's a very direct communication. The one thing I think I would add to this feedback is let's talk more about this at our next meeting. Let's have a sit down with this, because when you say your emails lately seem passive aggressive, you might need to define what that means. And the nice thing about emails is you can pull them right back up. And so the tone of this sounds to me and to others like this, like dismissive, for instance, passive aggressive, or like, well, I'm glad you could make it today, to somebody who's late, is passive aggressive, right? And it doesn't set some clarified goals.
I would also recommend, I don't think that this is meant to be an email. I would not recommend sending this in an email. I would recommend this being a conversation.
Yeah, good. Perfect. And so then the example on that would be like, does that make sense to you? Or can you identify the parts of your emails that might have been interpreted as passive aggressive? So you get that feedback from them. Yeah, this is one side of our conversation, right? And feedback is both. Dave, you know how much I appreciate your leadership. I love your passion, appreciate your opinions. I need you to know that behavior during our team meetings is abrasive and overpowering. We talk over others' dismerits. Sorry, this discourages collaboration. Ain't that true? It creates a toxic work environment. This is the third time we've talked about this. I don't want to lose you. I hope you take this conversation to heart. That's good. We're trying to drive improvement, giving them honest feedback. Hopefully that's in person too. So here's the SBI method, the situation, behavior, and impact. And this is, giving people what they need, where they're at, meeting them where they're at, right? Name a specific situation so the employee knows what we're talking about. Name the observable behavior without exaggeration, mind reading, or assumptions, or broad character labels. I mean, if you've been in multiple meetings and you witness that they didn't give others a chance to interject, and others like ask the people to say, I know Dave has some experience in this, and I'd like to hear what he has to say about it. That behavior, if it doesn't value other people's input, then it's a behavior that's going to be negative in the leadership category. And then what's the impact on that behavior? Like we talked about earlier, if you don't give them clear goals, if you don't recognize the good work done, the impact can be demotivational, right? It can minimize the confidence that they need in order to be effective leaders. Leaders need to be confident both in their abilities and that if they make a mistake, they can learn from it and come back. So, yeah, some SBI method examples here. I don't want to really read these to you. I'm pretty certain all of you can read. But, you know, being specific, the more specific, the better. Date, place, time, any other details. I mean, be conservative with that. If somebody comes into a meeting with you and you whip out a notebook and you've got a list of their shortcomings, that can be ill received. But maybe if you summarize them, that can be good. So that's the when. What is the what? What was the behavior that was observed? And then what do you think was the result, or what do you perceive as a result of it? Perception's going to be essential in this. Ask for specifics, focus on understanding, express appreciation, give time to process. That's the other thing. Especially somebody who maybe they've got a blind spot. They haven't seen this. That's just the way they've always done things. They didn't realize this was the wrong way to do things. Give them time to process it. Like, what does that mean? What can I do with that? It doesn't have to be like, so I'd like you to think about this for a while, and let's talk about this again next week. Give them a chance to kind of noodle on it. Don't minimize or dismiss their efforts. Don't try to explain what you think they should do differently. Don't get angry or withdraw. If you're getting feedback, withdraw. So given time to process it, I think is important. But don't withdraw. You have to circle back to it. And then don't deflect the positive feedback. And that's probably another thing that most of our colleagues they don't like a bunch of tooting our own horns. We just tend not to do that. And I think it's something we need to do is recognize that exceptional behavior. But maybe it is, like you said, maybe it is that one-on-one thing or in a small group where you say, I really appreciate what you did there. I know that took some extra time that you didn't expect, and the results were outstanding. So if somebody gives you that kind of feedback, say, thank you. I'm glad you noticed, and that was what I was shooting for. Next slide. So here's some individual activities. We're going to create a couple of feedback examples using that SBI. So start with the situation. What was the behavior? And what was the result of that behavior?
Okay, you want to take 5 minutes to do this?
Yes.
Okay. Write down a couple of things and then come back prepared. I'm not afraid to call on people.
At 11:45. How's that?
That works.
Did you want to take the rest of these, Josh? You want me to do this?
Yeah, I can take them. We'll go through them quickly so we can get to the rest of the group activities.
Okay.
So instead of removing a microwave from service, let's see if we can. It's not going to show because it's blurred. How do I turn that off? There it is. I don't know if you can read it.
Put a note on it instead of turning.
Danger, fire hazard, do not use sparking. Thank you. Okay. Who wants to go first?
So I have one. I didn't get two, but I'll give you one.
Yeah, great.
Last Friday, I had a team of 3 members replace some crash rail inside the OR suites of West Tower. And one of the members at first did not want to engage in the work. It's kind of hesitant. So I stepped in as a leader and worked along them doing the same work that they were doing. And that motivated him. I guess he kind of felt shamed. So got the team going, worked out well. At the end of the day, his feedback was that he appreciated seeing leadership engage in the work. So the job got completed. Everybody was happy, and he did engage after all.
Nice. Good. Good use of SBI. Who else? You guys know I'm standing between you and lunch, right?
All right, I'll go next. I'll do one.
All right.
Okay, so this happened last week. So it was Valdi, Mike, and Rick. So I said Thursday morning when you came to help gather the light bulbs for disposal, I felt that we came together as a team and accomplished the goal. So
Nice. Good. All right, at least one more.
I don't think Rick has spoken today. I think he should do one.
Ricky got called on, man.
Believe it or not, guys, we've been pretty busy here, Rick and myself. That's why we're in and out.
Yeah, I
It's just been one of
apologize.
those. Yeah, we're sorry, but it's been one of those days.
No, I
Yeah.
understand. Understand. Okay. Totally fine. So you guys get what we're doing. Like it's important. Like when you have a win, what and how, then it allows for clear communication, right, across the team. So which is really what we're trying to do. got a couple more slides and then a few more group activities. So we'll get through these slides quickly. Follow Texas Children's structure, right? A fair approach to address performance issues. It's not meant, performance improvement plans are not a punishment, right? I think too often we talk about, do you guys call them PIPs there? Do you have a different name? You call them a PIP, right? So too often I think we say like you're on a PIP and we treat it as a negative. And it's really not. It's really not a negative. It's you're not aligned, and it's my job as a leader to help you align and help you get on the same page, because you guys know, I mean, it probably wasn't too long ago that you guys were in the field and you knew and probably still know who the employees are that are the low performers, right? And when I say that, probably somebody came to your mind. Everybody else knows it too, right? By not addressing it, by not taking that structured approach, it's not fair and equitable for the entire team, right? And a lot of the times what we find is that they're a low performer, not necessarily because of anything that's going on at work. Sometimes there's stuff that's just going on at home or in their personal life or wherever, right? That is influencing and impacting something that they are working on. But it's a collaborative process where they're able to get one-on-one time with you as a leader to say, like, here is how I plan to improve. I have put myself, I'm dead serious, I have put myself on performance improvement plans before with my VP of, here is something that I am struggling with. I am struggling to, right, like, because I'm in school right now too, like I'm struggling XYZ to balance, and I am not getting all of my emails answered. I need help and guidance on you holding me accountable to certain things, right? So it wasn't a negative for me. It was, I need help and structure, and I need you as my leader to help provide that help and structure for me. Addressing violations of the rules, conduct, or attendance. So upholding those, making sure that even if it's just a write-up, right? So like, I have some managers that go the opposite extreme, right? I have managers that do both, never ever write up. And then when they do want to terminate somebody, they can't because they have no documentation. And then I have one that is, I'm not kidding. He's like, you were 3 minutes late to work today. I'm writing you up. Right? That's what our policy said. Our policy says this, and I followed the policy, and it's cut and dry, and it's clear and period. And every single person that works for him has like 50 write-ups. So it's finding a balance is what I would say, right? And helping people understand the why behind, but not doing it at all and doing it too much can have repercussions. Coaching is for improvement, right? We're trying to address those performance concerns. It can be informal conversations that you have where you follow and document with an email afterwards. It can be a formal. You can write it down and say, like, for our conversation, like, these are the things that you're going to do. And like I said, performance improvement plan. It starts with us as leaders, right? If we avoid the conversations, if we don't fulfill our responsibility, right? That's our job, right? It's making sure that we're holding team members accountable equitably, right? And not playing favorites, not letting it slide because somebody's a really good high performer, right? If they're a really good high performer and they have a negative attitude or they want to wear inappropriate clothing, is this one, right? It says, that doesn't, then we are communicating it's okay because they're a high performer, so I'm going to let it slide. And coaching prevents future violations, right? So a couple of examples of inappropriate behavior: failing to comply with health service standards, careless work, improper work, right? Not doing lockout tagout, not notifying people before you ramp down an air handling unit. Performing unsatisfactory during really any period of your employment, right? So like failure to meet standards of the role or position, failure to follow life safety rules, health rules, not following your instructions, right? I'm sure that's one that typically will cause a little bit of anger and frustration, right? So if I tell you very clearly do ABC and you do XYZ, then I'm pulling you back in and we're going to realign on like what happened, what was unclear. And certain actions can result in immediate termination. So gross negligence, misconduct, that could have resulted in serious injury or death. Harassment and bullying. It's unacceptable. Right? We work in a professional environment, and integrity is just about everything, right? So like, and how you treat other people is a direct reflection. And I think again, like goes back to us as leaders, right? If somebody brings you something and says this high performer is bullying me, harassing me, it's easy to turn an eye to it, turn a blind eye. And that's very much the wrong thing to do, because you are creating a culture underneath you that permits that behavior. Stealing Texas children's assets, accepting bribes or kickbacks, falsifying documents. And that's a common one. I mean, like we talk a lot about pencil whipping in our industry, right? Well, I have had to use maintenance records for court cases before. And those documents are what the lawyers use, right? So it's important that we are honest with everything that we put in writing. All right. Group activity. We got a couple of these coming up. So determine the disciplinary course of action to implement with the direct report, given the circumstances you're provided. Think through, like, remember these questions. What questions would you have? What information do you need? All right. I think there's about 6 or so of these. A team member consistently refuses to follow direct instructions from a supervisor or manager, causing delays and impacting patient care. So what questions do you have? What information do you need? And what do you think the appropriate course of action is?
Josh, can we give them, this is a continuum, right? It says consistently refuses. Is the first conversation you've had with them, or the second, or the third?
That's a good question. Yeah. So we would need to know, how many conversations have we had? Right? Is that gonna influence what you end up doing as a leader?
I would say so. If there's been multiple conversations about it, I think maybe a write-up will be up next.
Yeah. That's another question. That's another question that I would have is, have we documented any of it? Right? A verbal conversation means nothing to HR.
Right, you would, depending on how many times you've done this, you definitely follow up with an email per our conversation and continue on with, should this continue, there may be disciplinary actions in the future. If you've already done that, then you would go ahead and proceed with the first counseling and send that over to upper management, and they would forward it to HR.
Yep. And you can also use the SBI model here, right? If it's like on this date, during this instance, this behavior occurred, this is how it impacted patient care. All right, next one. A team member has a pattern of frequent late arrivals and unexcused absences, causing disruptions to team productivity. You've already met with them and discussed how they need to change.
I will again comment on this one. Again, it would matter as whether or not you've documented it, your coaching. If you have, then we use Cronus here, and Cronus is good on keeping tabs on particular dates when they're tardy, or if they've done absences within the required time to ask for PTO. So if you're keeping up with those records, you can easily go into your Cronus and identify the exact dates and put them on a performance improvements plan, or put them as a first counseling, and again put it at the end stating that should this happen again, you continue to monitor, and again disciplinary action may come again.
Yeah, Mr. Puckett.
I think this is a real opportunity to ask why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say that because that's actually happened to me, where I had an employee who's he had a history of being good, and then all of a sudden this started happening over a month period of time, and it turned out that his wife had left him, and he had the kids, and he had to get them to daycare before he could come in. Daycare didn't open, or sometimes there was delays in daycare, and so there's like, now, is there something I can adjust? Can I change his hours to 7:30 so that he's not consistently late? And I think that we talked about that earlier, in how we develop relationships with people. We recognize that they have external influences on them that they may not necessarily have control over, and if we can accommodate that in that manner. But I think asking the question, like, is there a reason for this that I just don't see, would be very helpful here. And would show, if nothing else, it would show that you were concerned about them as a fellow human being.
Concern is one thing, but also you have to weigh that against the perception of favoritism.
That is true. A team member repeatedly disregards safety protocols, putting themselves and others at risk despite receiving prior warnings.
So for my line of work, that would absolutely be a no-no. So before we even do something as unsafe, we're going to talk about the protocols that we're going to take. Putting others at risk. I like going home the same way I came to work. Came to work with all my hands and my toes. I'm trying to go home the same way and looking the same way.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do, I would have a conversation with them with another member of leadership, so they could be aware that that was a verbal talking to. Depending on the severity, it may go past that. If something would have had to happen, or it was a straight verbally not following instructions. But if I had a member that was intentionally not following our safety protocols, then I would escalate it up to HR. Because for me, that's not acceptable at all. You're talking about not just your team members, but we work in a hospital. You're talking about patients too, and the people that's also working around. That's a liability that the hospital can't have on themselves just because you feel like skipping a safety procedure or something that we have in our protocols. by the way we go about doing things.
Absolutely. Ricky?
So I would start with giving him some safety classes and have him sign a sheet saying that he took the classes, and that way we have documentation in case this continues. If it's a pattern and it continues, we have some documentation that we can present to upper leadership, and they can send it to HR.
Good. Good. Team member consistently fails to complete required rounding documentation accurately and on time, causing compliance issues. I only have a couple more, and then we'll wrap up. Thank you, guys. I know you have lunch and other meetings, so.
That happens here. We have a lot of new members that they do the rounding, and they don't exactly know the procedure of the rounding. So we can pair them up with an experienced member, and they can walk them through exactly how it needs to be done, and just that way we can document that and make sure that he is aware of how it needs to be done.
Good.
Also important to why it needs to be done.
I think it's always good to be able to share why. People rarely care about the what, right? But they care about the why when you connect it. Mr. Puckett.
I'm gonna share a little example here where, and we circle back to like ask them, is there a reason why you're consistently failing to do this? We integrated a new work order system, computerized maintenance management system, and we had people who were closing work order, but they didn't finish it. And so there was this misunderstanding of that process, made it an easy fix without hurting anybody's feelings or any kind of disciplinary action. It was a failure on our part to clearly communicate how to do that.
That's good. Okay, we'll skip the last two. We'll go to Q&A. Hopefully this was helpful.
You'll get a survey. You can tell us if we can be better. We're open to that feedback.
I always like to do the opposite. So normally when I co-present, somebody will be like, if you did if you thought it was great, my name is Josh. And if you thought it was not great. So I do the opposite. If you thought it was really great, my name is John. If you thought we need improvement, my name is Josh.
Good one.
Any
Okay,
questions?
John.
You head out?
No, John.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Ricky.
Yeah, it's the second time I got to work with this team. Thanks for letting me have this time with you and sharing some experiences and lessons.
Yeah, it was very helpful for me. Y'all share a wealth of knowledge, and I'm just soaking it in.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys being engaged. Thank you very much. Sorry to hold you a little bit late. Have a wonderful day. I'll close this meeting the way I close all of my meetings, right? Today is Wednesday, April 29th, 2026. Y'all, it is the only April 29th, 2026 that you are ever going to get. So make the absolute best of it. All right.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's the only one you get.